All right, Herald-Times sports editor Chris Korman here, joined by Dustin Dopirak, our beat writer, and second row Hugh Kellenberger. I love it back there.
Yep.
Anyway, here at Memorial Stadium, where Indiana has finished dismantling an Illinois team that was as bad as everyone said it would be.
And worse, probably.
Worse, huh?
I think so. I think so. I don't think. I think people thought Illinois was going to win this game. I mean, I think part of it was because they underestimated Indiana after how bad they looked last week, and figured Illinois was going to be able to do this. I didn't think they would play this bad.
Yeah, but Indiana did come out and play. The Indiana team that they think they are,
Exactly.
they say they are, came back. That Michigan team.
Yeah, maybe not even necessarily that good, but even just as good as against Akron and even like Western Michigan. I mean, they weren't. The team that was there last week was as bad as they looked. I mean, this was back to them doing things the way they want to do it for the most part, and a lot of things worked today. I mean, the running game came back. I mean, just having Willis in the backfield, he didn't have a huge day. I mean, we have 59 yards.
His presence,
but his presence was huge.
Matters.
Yeah, and it's not only just him running the ball. The pass protection is such a big deal.
Right.
I mean, he's so much better at that than Burgess and especially McCray, and that made a huge difference, and just opened up the play action passing game. And Chapel was able to do a lot with that, obviously. The wide open touchdown to Doss, was huge. But so many things opened up because of that. They were able to just do a lot more than they had been able to, and the Mitch Cat worked, or
Sure.
Evans, or whatever we want to call it.
Wild Evans,
Wild
Mitch
Evans,
Cat.
whatever. Finally was useful again today. I mean, 9 carries, 88 yards for Evans. So a lot of things they wanted to do got done.
Right. Hugh, Chapel's been a little bit up and down, kind of a hard guy to figure out. What have you seen from him? Why was he, for the most part, pretty sharp today, and maybe other games, just really hasn't had it?
Yeah, I thought today he was sharp just because, the Illinois cornerbacks were letting the receivers have some room.
Right.
And, those receivers are so athletic that if you get the ball in space, things are going to happen. The touchdown to Belcher, that's a 6-yard slant that Belcher turns into a 29-yard touchdown because he was
Just
Great
devastating news.
Yeah, just killed that guy.
He actually probably overthrew that touchdown pass to Doss a little bit, and Doss ran it down.
Right.
When they are given the opportunity to Chapel to make plays and allow his receivers to make plays, that's when they're good. I don't think you can put the game on Chapel, but he's good at letting other people have the game revolve around him.
He had a lot of things come open today that you hadn't even seen before too. I mean, two big passes to Troy Wagner, including the touchdown. I mean,
Troy Wagner,
basically
how about not
been
making
involved.
a huge catch down there?
Huge was pretty much the one that just absolutely put it away. And he hasn't been involved in the passing game.
Well,
in
he
years.
was, and we really kind of thought that he would be a bigger presence. He had another great catch too. So maybe they're working that back in. But as Bill Lynch said after the game, if Indiana, it just seems for whatever reason that they really need the first domino to fall, and then their offense works.
Absolutely.
There's just other games they can't get it on track for whatever reason. But if they start going, and against Virginia,
They had a really good drive, and then they had
right.
the fumble. I mean, or whatever you want to call it, when they just basically ripped the ball out of Turner's hands, and just basically ripped their soul out with it.
their soul.
That was pretty much what it was. It was that bad. I know that was dramatic, but let's be serious.
really
That's kind of how it looked. I mean, they didn't show up. They just absolutely fell apart.
But today everything worked. Defensively, it starts with those two ends. I mean, if Curlew and Middleton can wreak havoc, the rest of the defense can do its job.
Absolutely.
But IU really needs those two to disrupt up front.
Yeah.
And then they have the players.
And then the next thing you know is the D tackles do something, basically, and then that just makes it more, makes it easier on everybody else, basically. But I mean, this was an interesting bend but don't break situation for them. They let up almost as many yards as Illinois did. I mean, there was a
lot
bunch
of those
big
were at the
plays.
end of the game when Illinois
there were,
kinda
but I mean, there were
had
some big gashes in there. I mean, there was a couple times where LaShore got some big open holes in the middle, but when it got down to the 40 or the 50, Indiana made a play, forced a punt. And also a couple other times. I mean, Illinois almost took control of this game, twice, especially when they were down 13-7, got the ball down the 4-yard line, and Curlew makes a huge play, Fisher makes a fumble recovery. I mean, things could be a lot different if that goes different.
Yeah, again, they're making clutch plays. Interestingly, co-defensive coordinator Joe Palcic told me after the game that Indiana had planned to play nickel the whole game, which they ended up doing pretty much. early in the week, and then Chris Atkins, their nickelback, goes down. Sure enough, and they had a competition. Colin Taylor and Jeremy Finch went at it for that spot, and Taylor ended up getting it.
Taylor won it,
and they kept Taylor back there, let him play, and then early in the game they lose.
Will Patterson and Donnell Jones.
Yeah, hand injury. So they really had to battle through some things today, and that defense, really played well against an Illinois offense that hasn't been great, but has playmakers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Aurelius Ben is still one of the most talented wide receivers, if not the most talented wide receiver in the Big Ten. And Juice Williams, as much as he might not have developed the way everybody kind of figured he would after he took him to the Rose Bowl as a sophomore, it's still dangerous. I mean, he might not be an overall great quarterback, but I mean, he gets out in space, he can make a play with his legs, and he can make some throws. I mean, he obviously made a couple big ones today.
Right.
So, it's not necessarily, he's not necessarily the best player in the world, but, he can beat you. I mean, he's still dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, when he was, when he got out of that pocket, he wasn't so much running as he was on the run. He was running away from the defensive line. It wasn't playing runs the same way Terrell Pryor or Sorrell Virginia just kind of broke away and they were off. Juice was just running for his life, and that was a big difference.
Right. Hugh, you've shared your thoughts on Ron Zook's future, the Illinois coach, on Twitter, thanking him for his service to the Illini. Where do things stand with Indiana right now? Where is this football team?
With this football team, I think they put themselves back in position to potentially make a bowl. I think we said last week they're 3-3. Okay, you got to beat Illinois, you got to beat Northwestern, you got to beat Purdue. Well, they did the first part. Northwestern, Purdue, the two winnable games left. Purdue's a good football team. They showed
beat
that
Ohio State today.
They showed that today, but it's still very much a winnable game. And it'll be an emotional game after what happened last year. So they put themselves back in line to potentially go to a Little Caesars Bowl or an Inside Bowl.
They're back to feeling like things are possible again. I mean, just after last week, you could have clearly imagined, complete downward spiral.
Right.
And I think at this point they're back to feeling like, okay, like there's still a lot on the table. Maybe they don't get it, maybe they do, but there's still a possibility. I mean, they can, if they play like this, Northwestern, Purdue, maybe they don't win, maybe they do win. But at least they should be in those games and should have it, have a chance. So at the very least they're not going to get wiped, just wiped off the floor for the rest of the season.
I think that's what we take away from this game. They're back to thinking things are possible, back to believing that there are possibilities, and that's, I think that's really
where Indiana, you take that,
right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll continue to have coverage, obviously, this week of all things IU. We have some more basketball coverage in tomorrow's paper. Obviously that's heating up now. I got to watch Tom Crean run his team through a practice this afternoon. Just getting a feel for those guys. Such young players again. So much to learn. Going to be, a fun season to cover. It's, as a journalist, you want the storyline. You want people to be growing, to develop. You want to be able to track that. And, we really have that chance. And with this football team too, it's it's been a ride. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out
who
these
they
guys.
are.
Yep.
Basically.
Yeah. So we'll have more coverage. Tuesday, Bill Lynch press conference. Tomorrow, Dustin will have a follow-up. We'll have some more on the blog. Hope to see you then. Thanks, as always, for joining us. Take care.